What's up guys, welcome back to the DIY Tuners. It was my birthday weekend. I'm now 29. I know you're thinking, yes, it was a hard paper round. So today we're going to do some carbon fibre skinning because we got some kit for my birthday. We got it from Easy Composites. I'll put the link in the description. They do basically carbon fibre skinning kits, stuff like that. They also do a good video on their website, so I'll put a link to that. So I got epoxy coating resin, also the black epoxy base coat, and I got 3 meters of carbon Kevlar material. So today I'm going to mainly focus on doing my RX7 door handles, and also we're going to do a few other bits of trim, but I'll focus mainly on the door handles. So apart from the stuff from Easy Composites, you're going to need some brushes. I use these foam brushes. I just get them off Amazon, only like £4. Some mixing sticks, mixing cup, some scales, and then some random different grades of wet and dry, and some rough sandpaper for doing the first coat. So as soon as you got that together, we're just going to rough up the part with a nice decent, I think this is 60 grit, and then we'll get the first base coat of resin on. So with plastic parts, you might not be able to get a decent key on like this. Just take a Stanley knife and you can just put some screws in it, and then that just helps the epoxy stick even better. So now you've spent what feels like a lifetime sanding your pieces down, I'm just going to give it a wipe over. I'm going to use panel wipe because they've got knocking about. I'm pretty sure on the Easy Composites website it just says you can use a damp cloth just to get rid of the dust basically. So now they're clean, before we go putting any resin on there, I'm going to cut the material and make sure we've got enough to fit over the part. So when you cut your piece, always overcut it a little bit, not too much, but the edge of the material always frays a little bit and you won't be able to use that. Plus you want to make sure you've got enough to wrap it around the part slightly at the back. So now we've got the pieces cut out, we can mix up some of the base coat at 100 to 33 ratio by weight on scales. We'll put that on there, and then that takes 2 hours at 20 degrees I believe, until it's at a tacky stage where you can touch it, it feels tacky but the glue doesn't come on your finger, and that's the stage at where you're going to put the material onto the part. So once that's all brushed on, we're going to leave that now for 2 hours roughly, depending on temperature, until it gets to that tacky stage where it feels tacky on your glove but you don't get no residue. I mixed up 50 grams for that, and I probably only used about 10. So if you're doing this at home, yeah, don't mix up too much because you're just going to waste it. Right, so I've left that 2 hours now, and it's at that point where it's tacky but doesn't stick to your finger. So then we're going to stick the cloth on, let it go off for then a further 3 hours, and then we will start putting the coating resin on. Right, now the material is stuck on, I'm going to mix up some epoxy coating resin and give it its first wet coat, and then we'll let that go off fully for 8 hours before we come back and tidy it up before the other 3 coats. So that's going to be it for today. Putting pieces on with 1 coat of resin, and then I will let them go off overnight, come back, tidy up all the excess material, and then put 3 more coats in one go. So lads, it's now 2 days later. It's rock solid, so I'm just going to trim up all the excess, flat it down with 120, and basically prepare it for the next 3 coats of resin that will all be going on at once. Right, so that's them now sanded. The handles fit nice. I was a bit concerned about them because once you put the carbon Kevlar sheet on and then a bit of resin, the tolerances are quite close. But they fit, open up. All flatted back. I used Dremel and one of these little carbide wheels, as well as a little drum, and then just flattened them back with 120. And I will come back later when I've got a spare 4 hours, because you need to put the first coat on, 2 hours later second coat, 2 hours after that put the third coat on, and then leave it 8 hours again to go fully hard before we flat it back. Right, so it's time to coat these, but it's too cold in the shed even with that heater on, so I'm going to sneak them into the house. Wife's in the front room, so I'm going to try and do it without finding out. So let's get to it. Right, so that's that resin gone hard overnight. I need to sand them now with 120 to get rid of like the texture. It's still like a bumpy, ripply surface on it. So I've done the door handle bit, and with the 120 you're just aiming to get a nice flat finish. Don't worry about the scratches, because obviously the next coat of resin, thin coat that you put on, is going to cover them anyway. So yeah, I'm going to have 120 of these, and then they'll be ready for their last coat of resin. Right, they are now sanded down. I did forget to film it, but you'll probably be glad about that because it took a long time. So that's ready for the final thin coat of resin now, and let that dry for 8 hours, and then we'll be ready to move on to 400 grit all the way up to 1500, polish, and then put them back on the car. Right, so that's now the last coat of resin hard. They come out alright, they look pretty shiny. I've assembled them so the handles work, because I want to check them before I go on with the wet sanding. Now we've just got to wet sand it like you would do with a new paint job. So I'm going to go from 600 through the grades at 200 increments. I don't know if I'll go to 2000, we'll see what 1500 is like. It might be smooth enough at that. And then we'll give them either a machine polish or a hand polish, just with some sort of rubbing compound, and then we'll install them on the car. So that's it, all finished. I'm pretty happy with how it came out, considering it's a fairly complicated piece. All I've got to do now is whack it back on the car, see if it was worth all them hours. So there it is back on the car. The camera definitely struggles to get the sort of goldy yellow colour of it. If that's any better. But yeah, really happy with that, to the point where I did have carbon fibre headlight covers, so I've took them off, ready to do them. I'm also going to do these little side step pieces, the diffuser and the front splitter, all in the same carbon Kevlar, just so it matches. That will probably take me another month, because this took me a week alone. So that's it, finally finished. If you have any questions, then leave them in the comments below. And if you're not subscribed yet and you like checking out car related content, then please do subscribe. Next up, we're going to be fitting these bonnet pins, which are a flush mount rather than sort of the aero catch. I feel they look a lot smoother than the aero catch. So next up we'll be fitting them. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.